Welcome to my channel. Today we'll be working on a Jaguar E-PACE, and what we're trying to do is to replace the engine. The original engine had a shear on the front. This car was crashed on impact, and the front engine block was sheared off. What there is, we have to replace the old engine to get a new engine fitted so that the alternator will find some mounting. Now it's a terrible job here. It needs quite a lot of patience and a lot of work. Just to show you around what it looks like. This is the front of the car. So that's the engine. That's the engine that was damaged. It's a TD. It's a 204 DTY engine, which is the latest engine that's running a hybrid system on these Jaguar Land Rover cars. Now, if you look down on there on the alternator point mounting point, this, because of the impact from the front, it hit the alternator. And remember, the alternator is quite a heavy sort of kit because it runs the hybrid voltage as well. I mean, it's alternator cam drive runs the main pulley, just like an electric kind of system, because it's a hybrid. And because it's so heavy, it hit the alternator, and then it sheared off these mountings on the block. You can see the block sheared off. This piece here of the block was sheared off, and there is no way you can repair that. You can't re-weld back. So we were thinking of doing a bracket, a temporary bracket, and once the bracket was fitted, you can see something like a temporary bracket that was fitted to hold the alternator. But because of the amount of torque that this alternator needs to drive the main pulley, this mounting wasn't sufficient. It actually did not hold the alternator tight, and the alignment of the belt comes loose, and then this belt now goes off to the inside cover, and it gets shredded. You can see the shredded bits hanging over there. So what there is really is just to replace the old engine, because you can't repair the block. If you take the block and replace just the block, the work you're going to do on this engine is actually tantamount to just getting a new engine or a replacement engine. So that's what we're going to do today. So we got this out of the car, and it's a bit of a work to do really, just to show you the most important bits that you need to consider when you're removing this. What they've done on this car is they have put all the lambda sensors at the back of the engine, right down tight there. So you'll have to make sure that when you go down there to remove all these bits, you haven't got enough space. It's quite tight. So when you're pulling the engine off this way, some of these sensors, like on this side, if you look on the engine side, that sensor there, it will pull away from the back, and you end up damaging that sensor. So you have to be careful when you're pulling it out. One other thing, is quite tight, to be honest. There is also the heater, the heater cooling system that goes inside. I mean, the heating system that goes inside the car. So those pipe works there also needs to be considered when you are pulling the engine off. Obviously there is not much on the back connection on the cart side, which is quite good. And on this side you also have to get your fuel lines as well. You can see that, so that water doesn't get in there. And then on the back there's an ECU. So these points here, if you can see these points that I've put gloves on, they're connectors for the ECU, which I removed from here, because once you remove the top cover, you don't want water to get in through to the ECU, which is actually facing upwards there, so where these connectors go in. So once you get these connectors out, you just have to block them up so that the rainwater doesn't get in there. So yeah, that's the bits that you need to consider. Now on the drive shaft ends, you can see down here on the wishbone, the wishbones, a wishbone comes as a complete kit together with the ball joint. So down here, when you're removing it, it's quite tight, really. It holds tight, but you got to use a lot of force to get it off. Well, while doing that, you got to consider there is a rubber protecting cover on the actual ball joint, so you make sure you don't puncture that, because if you puncture that, then you kind of have to replace that, and it's a hell lot of job to replace that rubber there. So yeah, so that's pulled off. Now it's got a protective cover. Yeah, and then it looks like it's now good to go. But one more thing on the actual engine, because it's this guy's an automatic car, so the gearbox is on there. The automatic gearbox is on there. On the back there is a small transfer box that's placed running the rear drive, and it comes from right at the bottom of the engine. You got to be careful with this thing when you're mounting it back. When you remove the gearbox, this transfer box is quite tight on the bolts here, so you have to make sure that you get them right when you're removing them. Otherwise, so that's what we are going to do. We're going to get these cuts out, remove the cuts, and replace it with the new engine that we're gonna fit back. So just to show you around, the new engine is over there, so it's over here. So yeah, that's the new engine. So as you can see, it hasn't got a cut, so that cut is gonna come back to here. Yeah, and then then we fit the automatic gearbox on the transfer box. So I'll let you see what the outcome will be once the job is done.